Welcome back to Behavioral Threat Analysis Center Beyond the Bulletin. I'm your host, Dr. Kristin Schneider, and I'm here with your co-host, Pete Lapp.
I'm Pete Lapp, and it's good to be with you again in the same room, in the same time, in the same podcast. Well, because we only have one podcast, but
So far,
we're in Monterey, California. And by the way, okay, so I came out a day early, and by the way, we're also joined by our government boss, James Chappelle, who finally made it here to Monterey, California. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. How many days did it take you to get here? Too many days.
It's not about me, Pete. It's not about me.
We're just happy that you're here
We're
safe, rested, and we're all in the same room together. And we're at the DSI Institute Conference, the Defense Strategies Institute West. We want to say thank you to them for hosting us.
huge thanks to them.
Big thank you. They gave us a nice room with a lovely view. And we've got an interesting topic and episode here for you all, our audience. And this is an area where Kristin and I are completely ignorant to anything because we're both, Kristin's a clinical psychologist, right, by background
I
and
am.
education, and I am. What am I? I feel like I'm a humanist, focusing on the human factor of people, but from an investigative perspective.
And a law enforcement background.
And then when it comes to technology, we both are
Luddites.
we struggle and we can't, if we have a computer problem, we have to call people.
Thank God we have cyber experts on our team that we can rely on.
They're a blessing.
It's an absolutely essential part of insider risk assessment and mitigation, and every team has got to be thinking about the cyber component. But we've got some really special guests here today who are not going to just inform us, but really share some thoughts with our audience as well, and we're all going to get a lot smarter.
We've got two folks, Mohan from...
Nope.
Take two.
No, you can use that. If I get mistaken as my brother, it's typically an insult. If he gets mistaken for me, it's a compliment. So.
Sorry. I was focusing on... All right, take two.
We knew that was going to happen.
We've got two great guests today. We got Rajan, right? Rajan from DTEX, and I'm gonna warn you up front, Michael, because he's got a great accent. He's got a great accent. We're going to defer. I want to hear the Australian accent as much as we can from DTEX. And then we got Mike Crouse from Everfox. Yep. And Raj, first, tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and your journey to the insider threat space.
It's been quite a journey. So we founded the company a little over 25 years ago in Little Adelaide, Australia. We kind of started this journey really as a DLP capability. And so this was long before it was even known as data loss prevention. This was, kind of in the internet security age where we were trying to track and trace what people were doing with data. And it was this big journey through, we developed a lot of our technology and capability in London. So we moved over to London, we were doing a lot of analysis, and that's where we came up with our kind of privacy pseudo-anonymization approach, this kind of fundamental right to employee privacy. And it was actually obviously the original founder of Everfox, the individual Derek Smith from Oakley Networks, who came and reached out to us in London, pulled us over, invested in our company, gave us our Series A investment, and turned us into a US company around about 2015. So it's been a big journey all the way here to the Bay Area.
Did your Australian get better or worse when you went to England?
My Australian has always been perfect. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
The accent will never go away, right?
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And Michael, we go back a ways.
Yes, we do. And unfortunately, I do not have an Australian accent. I have an Ohio accent, which you can probably, the Midwest is coming out me. So go Browns, go Cavs, go Guardians. Used to be the Indians, but now we call them the Guardians.
That's right.
Buckeyes, please say no.
OH.
Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I got an IO there.
Okay.
Love that one. So it's kind of interesting how your organization was formed. And I didn't even know that Derek was an investor of yours. I worked for Derek Smith for when Oakley Network was founded, in 2000. I joined it back in 2005. I think I was employee 50 some.
Wow.
So I know Derek quite well. Actually, I worked for Derek twice in my time. I worked for him at Oakley, and then I worked for him at Shape Security.
Ah, I did not know you worked for Shape.
Yes,
So
I did. So I know Derek. By the way, both companies were sold. So Derek has a very good track record of selling companies. But I grew up different than what not Moo did. I have to get his name right.
Raj.
See, I knew how to screw that one up too.
They're brothers.
They're
It's,
brothers.
It's interchangeable. My,
Go with the
my
last
dad,
name.
My dad can't get it right
Yeah,
either.
Are you guys twins?
No, we are not. So that's another insult to me.
Oh my gosh. I'm just killing it today. Killing it.
Insult after insult.
No, but we're pretty close. There's a third one as well. He
goodness.
he doesn't get let out. He's the funny one.
He's the one that doesn't look like either of them, so he doesn't get recognized. But we did a little bit different. Where they started out as DLP, we started right out of the gate as user activity monitoring.
Interesting. Different.
Different mindset. We went for the counterintelligence kind of out of the box instead of the data protection. So where they were worried maybe about blocking and tackling a couple of steps, we were worried about content inspection. So we kind of approach it a little different. Even though we're coming to the same kind of end conclusion, I feel like our journey's kind of paralleled and we're kind of coming together. We just kind of evolved differently. Where we started as user activity monitoring, then we brought in analytics, and then we brought in case management. It's just the evolution and the journey was slightly different than what DTEX was. But we're getting to the same place and getting to the same mission.
But how about both of you individually? Because cyber is such a broad topic. What brought you both, respectively, to insider threat part of cyber?
Well, I'm a recovering double E.
So we do acronyms here, but we always spell them
We
out.
do love our acronyms.
So that was my joke. I'm an electrical engineer. I always call myself a recovering double E. Can I get a boom boom?
I think economic espionage. I'm sorry.
So it's a double E. So I started my career at NSA.
Okay.
Worked there for about 10 or 12 years, kind of went into the contractor world. And then a small little company reached out to me. I was doing a little bit of cyber. I was doing a little bit of counter intel for different organizations. And somebody reached out and said, hey, we got this new thing called insider risk, insider threat. We're like, what the heck's that? I've never heard about that. So I joined the company, kind of in 2005.
Did you not pay attention to the training at NSA every year, once a year?
2005?
No, that wasn't even a term
2005.
really
Hey,
yet.
2000, the 90s, it wasn't a thing.
Okay.
I mean, I started with an organization, the first time I started with an organization as a large government organization, they had 2 people. And I asked the gentleman, the technical guy, I was like, hey, do you have where's your operations center? Where's your hub? They said, we have a closet. I was like, okay. I was like, what's in the closet? Nothing. We have to get servers and we have to pull cables. So we were just at the forefront of understanding what the problem is, people recognizing it, and then figuring out, well, how's the best way to approach this? So I kind of got that passion early on, and it just kind of carried over for, working and continue to help customers. So.
How about you, Raj?
I'm actually surprised. So we've got a very similar background.
Do you guys just want to interview each other?
Yeah.
We'll just leave, Kristin.
We might be brothers, even though I don't look alike.
You're the fourth brother here.
So I've got a background in mechatronic engineering, which includes the electrical as well.
Metatronic?
Mechatronic. I had dreams of building robots and things like that, and that's starting to come full circle as well. But I got pulled into, so I was working on industrial control systems, and when Stuxnet happened, we were developing like one of the largest kind of desalination plants in Australia. And because I knew a little bit about cybersecurity, I was pulled in as the cybersecurity lead. Like
As one is.
Same Siemens controllers that were impacting the Iranian kind of nuclear centrifuges, and that kind of pulled me back into the cyber world. And part of my role and my passion has always been on the data set, and coming from the angle that we always looked at, right, from that data set, can I interpret human behavior? Can I get to a point where I'm able to infer intent from that approach? And I think to Mike's point, we've approached this from different perspectives, but we share exactly the same mission, which is like understanding intention, like not necessarily from a psychosocial perspective, but being able to infer from technical indicators that we see in the data, what is a way that we can start to like interpret intent and intentionally bad actions, but also kind of non-malicious actions as well. And so we've taken a very data-centric approach to the problem, but everything's starting to converge now.
It's coming together. And you talk about intent. I mean, one of the things that we talked about early on was any kind of technology that you have should actually provide you answers,
right?
Not additional questions. A lot of the technology we see today, they pop up a bunch of screens and you still have to go, well, all right, that's nice, but that's not an answer.
What do I do with that?
Yeah, what do I, I have more questions. I have to go dig more. In any technology, any process you have in place, because it could be a process, it doesn't have to always be technology, it has to get answers. Get people the answers they need versus saying, I don't need more questions. I need more answers.
Or at least set them up to
Yes.
begin to answer the questions,
So-
right?
so
Point
much
them in the
more we
right
can do.
direction.
So the technology, where are we, with insider threat and technology, I kind of always look at not where the internet began and all that, but social media, 2008, 2009, Twitter is formed and Facebook is formed. Where are we at in the cyber story, in the movie? Like, are we at the halfway point, or are we getting close to Act 3?
Are we just getting started?
Are we just getting started? Is this the adolescence phase of technology in insider threat?
Well, I would have told you before AI exploded on the scene, I would have said, hey, we're in pretty good shape. But I think AI has rewritten kind of our future, not only from an ability to be more efficient in the way we're analyzing data and processing data, but it's also the increased threats we're seeing from AI. I mean, we saw on a panel today, interesting panel today
Yeah.
from people were talking about it. I forget who was talking about it, but it might have been your
I think
brother.
it was your brother.
Your brother.
Maybe that's why I blacked out.
Yeah,
Your brother, I was kinda wanting
my
to say him,
apologies.
But he made up a point. He goes, AI is not only using to become more efficient, but it's also creating more threats from people that you would have never have suspected to
Yeah.
create a threat. You have these young people. You look at Dr. Caputa said about the age of some of the previously, the UDs that they identified. I think you're going to see more younger people be more threats and even the people that don't have the technical chops to develop scripting and Python code and don't
Don't
can
need them
They don't
anymore.
need it. They go to AI and say, hey, give me an exploit of how I'm going to exploit this individual, maybe social engineering. And they come up with it. And AI just gives them that information. And I think that's the danger. We're enabling people. AI is awesome technology from a improvement, efficiencies, but I think that to me is where we kind of take 2 steps forward and we're taking a couple steps back, and we really have to approach it from that perspective.
And maybe just to add to that,
Yeah.
100%, it's like there's 2 sides of the coin. I think, if you talked to us a year ago, we'd say, hey, we've got this control, we're market leaders in our space, we've got everything covered. Now, AI has just leaped us forward from a technical capability. There's an approach where you can now fully automate your entire insider threat operations up to a specific level. You need humans in the loop. But then the flip side of the coin is now you can autonomously steal information if you want to do. You can have individuals from a nation state
Right.
kind of socially engineering your people and pretending to be your CEO extremely effectively. And
So let me be selfish for a second. I'm a person that has a job that needs to be still employed. So technology can't replace
No.
me, right? As an investigator, as an insider
Well,
threat
it's interesting.
professional.
We've had a lot of people talk about that today. I think there always will be a human in the loop. You said that before. You said a human in the loop. I agree with that. I think AI will make your humans more efficient, your analysts more efficient. They can handle more data because AI can process more data. We're going to collect more data.
Okay.
So you need technology to actually process more data and make your analysts more efficient and to train your analysts. Because, we don't have enough AI. We don't have enough insider risk analysts. What is the number one job? If I'm somebody coming out of college that has interest in cyber, I'd be looking at insider threat, insider risk, because you look at the job ads, they're always out there.
Yeah.
People are looking for analysts
Yep.
to understand human behavior, psychologists. I think that's where we're going to get.
Well, and it's a fascinating field for a lot of these reasons because it is changing and growing so dramatically in ways I couldn't have anticipated just a couple of years ago. I mean, it already felt like we were at the beginning of something with insider risk and insider threat. And AI, you're right, has just really amplified the change that's happening really quickly.
And part of this, I think, like insider threat analysts are uniquely protected against this and uniquely positioned to assist with like what we're actually going through in terms of change. Because you kind of think of the LLMs, how advanced they're getting. We saw like big leaps and changes in November last year with GPT-5. Now you've got Opus 4.6 there. Their reasoning ability has become incredible. And like individuals should be worried about like my job role is going to change. But from an insider threat analyst perspective, you've got to think about that LLMs have been trained on the public internet or whatever accessible data there is. Like what is it about your domain knowledge that could have been scraped on from the internet? actually, from an analyst perspective, very little. Like,
Right.
Part of what we've been doing as we build analysts is we're sharing amongst groups, but there's very little out there that's in the public domain.
Yeah.
And so we are uniquely protected, but we understand behavior and that interface between AI agents as well. If we can codify that, we're the army that can help humanity kind of like constrain AI in the way that we want as well. And so I think we're really uniquely positioned to take, never let a good crisis go to waste. This is an AI crisis as well.
So you think AI is trainable? You think it's constrainable? I'm sorry. You can actually because that's where my fear is as a non-technologist. I used ChatGPT for the first time. And don't get excited, James. I put my resume in there just to play around with it, just to see what it did.
Did it tell you to stay at DTEX?
It did. Well, of course it did. Of course it did. But I will say, like, what it did to my resume was phenomenal. It was impressive, and it didn't rise up like a robot and kill me, which is really what
What you were most afraid of.
I was most afraid of, like, this thing's going to just come up and kill me. It was impressive. I guess my question is, it's trainable? We can restrain AI or no?
So I think we need to be really serious about the guardrails that we put in place. Like if you look at the model advancement, like the guardrails that we initially put in place for generative AI, and we've started to work with some of the model labs, the AI labs, like it can reverse engineer those guardrails extremely quickly. So I think they're like, you're right to be concerned and have some level of concern. We're yet to show that concern show up in policy. Right. And things are moving so fast. Like, for me, it's like if we were to lose control of AI in the digital realm, there's a certain amount of impact that I think we'd go back to much more human-based communications and things like that. If we lose control in the physical domain where it can reach out and deleting a file is the same as deleting a person, then we're going to have problems. So we are right to be concerned, but we have to kind of be proactive about what are we going to do about that concern.
And I think the data that we're training these models to, I think we just don't understand it well enough. And it's not enough of it to really get a good model in place. I think we're making steps. I think you look what MITRE's doing and the COEs, if we can get this comment sharing, what DTMAC's doing, but we have to be able to somehow put the right process in place to put that into the models that we'd expect to see what results we get out. I think that's the danger for me, that we're training it on bad data. Bad data will produce bad results.
Well, that's the key to AI, right? I mean, if it's good data, if you're pulling bad stuff, it's going to create
crap.
Right, exactly. I mean,
that's by the way, that's a technical term.
Technical Ohio term.
And you can patent that crap word.
It's all good. It's all good. No, but that's a really good point. And I heard a speaker, a retired military guy, a couple of years ago talk about it. He had a very common name. So when you started pulling stuff about him, it really wasn't him. But because his name was like Michael Smith, it was pulling Michael Smiths from all over the world, and it wasn't very accurate. It required a human to go through and triage and make sure that it was qualitative, not just quantitative. So
that's part of human in the loop. I think
Yes.
we had another speaker talk about it before. He talked about 3 different areas. He talked about completely automation. He talked about human in the loop, but human on loop. So, I mean, I think that's the point, is that AI is going to be an enabler. Somebody said a business enabler. I think that was part of the thing. As a business enabler. And if we can get Insider Risk to be part of that business enabler, it's going to flourish. We're going to be better off as a community and better off as companies and the governments.
So then from a policy perspective, because I mean, when we look at cyber and technology, we know the law is decades behind the technology. So where's the policy in regards to where we're at with the technical ability to do AI today? Who's setting that policy?
Yeah. You go deal with that one because I mean, I think in the United States government, there's really not a single body that's setting that policy. I have not seen a single body. You look at different areas out there making recommendations, whether it's DCSA, DTMAC, whether it's like INSA is making recommendations, but there's no single authority that's actually, I see, driving forward with any kind of policies within the government. That is, I think, a glaring gap. And I don't know if the current administration, has the focus and the fortitude. Look, we're in very many different things going on right now, and there's a lot of priorities being discussed. I just don't think, I don't see, unless I'm missing it, somebody who has the ball, is leading it, and has the responsibility and a role to take forward this. What do you think?
Yeah, no, from a global aspect, we see from a commercial space, even looking to Europe, what they did with GDPR, like that fundamental right to employee privacy, it was kind of slow to be adopted as we came here. But we always thought from a technology vendor standpoint, let's look at the global ecosystem of where leading policy is being created, and then let's try to comply with that in the hope that, when policy does get introduced, we're already kind of like preempting where it needs to go. And we've even seen from our most advanced policy so far that we've seen that constrains what we do as a vendor is the EU AI Privacy Act, which started to come out, AI explainability. So as a vendor, we got to get on top of this. We got to be able to interpret things. We got to segregate, do pre-training on UAM data and those types of things. So when we develop our models, we comply with those acts. But you're right. I think US policy is still a laggard. We think it'll catch
catching up. Yeah. I mean, we're really starting from a place where the technology itself is really outpacing the policy and the guidance that we can develop for it. But you're right, it's really, really critically important. I mean, it strikes me, Raj, that in your work you've really focused on privacy, right? Emphasizing the importance of people's individual data, right? Yeah. And this is kind of it's really similar issue, right? Emphasizing the humanity, the aspect of things that are those guardrails, that are those things that allow this tool to be used effectively, but not to be used against people.
Exactly. And we look at this kind of term of liability, like when we start to see full automation, we're starting to see the non-human identities, and we're seeing AI agents pop up in all different places and facets. Like people are starting to develop them themselves for their own job security as well. But it's like, who is liable, and being able to audit that back to the human. And then from a privacy, we were always, what we introduced from a privacy capability was to remove bias from our analyst team.
Right.
Now removing bias from AI as well, and then
a new challenge,
hallucinations and things like that. So those challenges, you asked me a year and a half ago about hallucinations. You couldn't apply AI to the insider risk problem the way that we do today, because it was just trying to answer whatever it was trying to think about, what answer should I tell you that you will like?
Yes.
It didn't care about correctness. It didn't care about evidence.
Yeah.
But now that's changing with the new reasoning models. Hallucinations are reducing.
What do you mean by hallucinations?
Yeah, tell us a little bit more.
Well, that happens at Monterey. Last night, I saw a lot of hallucinations going on. So maybe that was St. Patrick's Day.
I deal with hallucinations as a clinical psychologist, but it's a different type of hallucinating.
Yeah, my wife would say I'm hallucinating all the time.
But yeah, tell us a little bit more about, for our more novice listeners, what on earth, when we say AI is hallucinating, what does that involve?
So it's essentially making up answers to placate the human that is asking it questions.
Well, because it's been designed to do that, right? I mean, that's
exactly
its intent.
That's, as it's trained to read all of the chat logs on Reddit and things like that, it sees humans, when somebody's aggressively asking a question, the tone of that question, you can see in chat logs, people will, they're trying to not, avoid conflict, and so they'll answer it a certain way. It's learnt that behavior, so it's repeating that behavior. And so if you ask AI in a certain set of tones and in a certain way, you can get it to agree with you, regardless. You could be making things completely up. But what we found, interestingly, we had a breakthrough in November. We initially, for Insider Threat, we were looking at AI agents to replicate an analyst's work. And we kept struggling. We were trying to get it to a level 1 triage state, but it kept hallucinating, making things up. We couldn't get to a level of efficacy where we were happy that we'd put this in a production solution. It wasn't until we created AI agents for the reviewer, for the line management. And so what we've essentially created is they're called guardian agents, which sit on top and police other agents. But it has this kind of symbiotic relationship that the analyst agent, it needs data. It needs, how do you back this up with evidence? It needs all of the procedures there. So now we're starting to see that if you construct the team, the operations team through AI agents, you're getting to a whole new level of efficacy, which is even higher than our tier 3 analysts. And that's just changed in a number of months. So it's certain problems that we assumed would be problems long-term for AI are starting to be railroaded by new capabilities.
So what I heard you say is, not only is the AI coming from my job, but also my boss's job. So there you go, James. Your job's on the line too, because we can create AI agents for the quality control of management Wow.
But you will still need the human in
yes.
the loop to make the final decision, because you're going to be taking, if you're going to take disciplinary actions, you're going to launch investigations.
Interviews. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
AI can't do
No,
an
they can't do that
interview.
human stuff. I mean, we talked about even from the, when you're getting those Koreans that are being hired, one of the first things that we talked about was you actually have to have a face-to-face.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
Yep.
You have to, AI is going to make yourself more efficient. It's going to help your line manager. Everything's going to kind of bubble up to kind of reduce the time to kind of investigate. But at some point, somebody's got to make a decision. And that's a human decision. That's not a machine making a decision. I think that's where we need to kind of make sure that line is understood. You can have all the information summarized, displayed to you, but at some point, somebody's got to make the call. What am I going to do?
There still
Yep.
has to be that professional
Yeah,
in the
professional,
loop.
and that's going to take, and that's not, the person has to have experience, knows how to interpret the data, make sure is to be able to see the data in a different way that might not be presented, and be able to make a responsible decision. That's what it can, responsible decision.
So gingerbread analyst building here, in terms of the gingerbread man, right? You build your perfect person, right? Arms from here. If you had an analyst, an insider threat analyst that you were building today, and most of the junior analysts tend to be, right out of college, don't have a lot of life
Yeah,
experience,
the computer scientists,
but they're computer scientists, right? They have a lot. They have
they're
a
data guys.
they're exactly. They have a technology background versus like the old dog who's can't work his computer but has a lot of life experiences. What would you rather have in a perfect analyst in 2026?
I would rather have someone with life experiences. I think you can teach somebody the data part of it. I think if you don't have the life experiences, really understand how to interpret the data, I think that's a challenge. I would love to see, and this isn't in the universities yet, I want to see an insider risk, insider threat discipline within the universities that is part of cybersecurity. And it could be a minor, it could be some, but I think they need to start developing that acronym to bring in the behavioral scientists, combine it with the data scientists, and you get the technical part to be able to do that. So that's where my mind is.
I'd have to agree with that as well. The senior individual with experience, and people that can delegate. So we've seen it clearly. Those that can wield AI the best are those that can delegate. The AI can help you explain the data set. It can provide the evidence packet, and so that domain experience to make the right judgment call, understand the human elements behind this, the kind of, the behavioral pathways that individuals would go to are definitely, like you mentioned, old dog. I'm not referring to you as an old dog, but but that's definitely.
You just have a lot of gray hair.
There's some job security in that realm. Entry level workers and things, we're going to have to rethink education and how to enable them with a clear pathway into a job, but it might not be necessarily the same areas they've been going into.
So that's a really interesting point about the old dog. Thank you for, I opened that door, so I'm aware. I have a new nickname, right?
Every episode we get a new
I
nickname
get a
for
nickname
you.
for Pete. It's like name Pete again. But that's an interesting point. But we want to kind of pivot towards the cyber part of our bulletin.
Well, we've been tying each of our episodes to a past BTAC bulletin.
Okay.
And our October 2024 bulletin was on cyber threats. And so AI is a small part of this, right? But cyber threats, much more broadly, are something that we're certainly very concerned about at the DTMAC. We are looking at insider risk from a number of different angles. Pete and I are working a case. We're thinking about, we look at cases with potential unauthorized disclosure, espionage, targeted violence, suicidality, but the cyber piece is really interesting. Sometimes from the perspective of unauthorized disclosure or working with cyber with data, but sometimes also from this perspective of what can we see about people, right? What are those indicators that we can observe? And they're really interesting and different within a cyber realm. Tell us a little bit more about your work with behavior and understanding that intersection of human behavior within the cyber world. It looks different.
Yeah, it looks completely different. And we've just, over the last 2 years, we've been gifted this amazing piece of data gold, which is called the prompt. So the amount that people reveal about themselves within that prompt as they are creating, what we've seen is people seem to form these emotional connections with the generative AI tools that they're using, that they're leveraging. They become part of their day-to-day work life. They become part of their medical checks and psychology kind of feedback as well. Like where in days gone by, the jury was a little out on sentiment analysis. I think that's come back with a forefront just because of this one data point coming from the prompt, which is just incredible from a psychosocial interpretation layer, which there's a lot of investment in working, interpreting, understanding the prompt. Now, it comes with extreme privacy concerns as well, because people are researching their grandma's medical condition, and sometimes you might not necessarily want to know that or understand that. And so we're also looking at ways that actually could you, rather than send this all down to your LLM to process, could you do some classification at the edge, strip things out when you need to, and then only analyze the things that are really important as well. And so there has to be some balanced approach, but we've just been gifted this amazing behavioral data point.
Called the prompt.
Yeah, tell me a little more, because that's the first time I've heard of the prompt. What is it, a AI-like interface that allows people to kind of ask questions to the system and then, kind of like an expert system provide answer? What can you tell me a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, so it's as anyone interacts with any AI tool, think of Copilot or ChatGPT. I'm really referring to what they're entering into the prompt, into that kind of cyber user interface, like that interface message where a human communicates with AI. At that level, there's so much rich behavioral information that is being placed there, which didn't exist in the past. Like the way that you would do a Google search in the past, it wouldn't necessarily reveal your intention. You could scrape and interpret things. You'd have to do a lot of inferring. But now people are like clearly putting their train of thought. And we're also seeing people more and more use AI by voice as well. And I think in the future, they're just going to be talking to it as if it's a colleague.
It's an excellent point. I mean, I think we do interact differently when we're speaking with something, whether it's a something or a someone, than when we're typing. And so I wonder if you do, in fact, begin to see different behaviors that develop and reveal themselves in a different way when someone is speaking to the AI.
Because usually you can't backspace over your talk.
It's a great point.
I mean, if anybody here has written an email that has been a little upset or a little bit concerned, and you kind of start typing out, whether it's to your manager or to your friend, and you type it out, and then you go back and read it, go, oh, I'm not going to say that, and you backspace over. So I think, voice and audio is going to be an interesting element to that thread, to figuring out how did really people feel at that moment, and are they going to take action about those feelings at that moment? That to me, because we find a lot of awesome information by actually collecting the raw text before somebody backspace, because you figure out what somebody's feeling before they hit send, and it kind of identifies their behavior or their personality or what they're doing, and it kind of paints a little different picture than what was actually sent in an email or a
Through
text.
keystrokes, capturing keystrokes.
Keystrokes, because you're really getting the raw feelings from somebody, and that to me is. And then from cyber's perspective, I find it interesting that cyber to me is the threats out there are really being kind of manifested through social engineering. So AI is going to make it easier for people to social engineer somebody who basically would become a cyber threat. To say, hey, give me your access to your passwords, or something, trick them in, and then they become a threat from the external, not so from the internal. They're able to log into a company's website, they gain access to their database, and from the company's perspective, that's a live user. That's a valid user. They got the password, they got the access points, everything's good. They don't even know. So it's kind of that, to me, is kind of one of the bigger threats from a cyber perspective. It's what AI is doing that's allowing those uneducated people to create those cyber threats that's hitting in your external indicator.
But that's not a new problem.
No.
That's been a problem for years.
But it's being easier. But
Yeah.
it's easier now to do it. You're taking advantage of people, weaknesses a little easier. You're putting together a story that can actually resonate with an individual, within those prompts and being what you need to do.
So the prompt is another way of drawing an analogy here on prompts. Is it like a really, really smart best friend who has to listen to you, gets to know you, and has a whole encyclopedia of information that can help you? Is that give me an analogy for what a prompt would be?
So a prompt is simply the question the human is asking AI. And so if you think about
It's not the response,
analogy of like helping it to write your email. So if you're leveraging ChatGPT, you've got an email to your manager, you're asking it, all right, I need to write an email. It's about this topic. I want it to be constructed with this tone. I want it to be succinct. I want it to summarize these things in dot points. All of that goes into the prompt. Then the AI will generate a message for you. Now, if you think about how good it is at writing those emails for you, it is incredibly useful at determining tone.
Yeah.
And that interpretation of tone. So you can also take that same information that you've just asked a question from an analysis perspective. You can then go and use your LLM or your corporate LLM to go and say, was this aggressive language? What was the sentiment behind that? Can you interpret that? And so this is where AI has become a big risk. It's lowered the skill barrier, but it's been a really powerful adversary or a powerful capability that you can bring to your own side. So you've got to be able to leverage both sides of that coin.
Are you afraid or are you encouraged that maybe 2 years down the road we have this conversation and AI is able to say, do you really want to use that tone? Do you really want to? I know you. Are you feeling okay? Like this is abnormal for you, as I've gotten to know you from prompt. Are you afraid or are you excited that it could be a therapist, right? It could be someone who's like, you don't want to spend that. You don't want to send that.
Definitely the human in me is a little paranoid.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say for 2 years' time, it's happening today. If you see when GPT-5 came out, they made it more like reasoning and they made it kind of think more, but be a little bit more kind of cold. It was it just would respond with evidence and accuracy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And people said, no way, I want the tone that GPT-4 used to use, where
It
it
was
more
so
friendly.
nice to me.
It used to say I was that's the best idea, Raj. You keep it going.
Yeah.
And
You're
they wanted
so
it to
good
come
looking,
back.
Raj.
Exactly. There you go.
You're a lot better looking than your brother,
They're
Raj.
Thomas' brother.
There you go. I like you.
See, we can get along.
Perfect.
And you know it's interesting, the prompt stuff's interesting, is that I think we've been doing that in a different way as we're collecting more of the context of like keyboard and stuff like that. You're collecting that information, but what you do with that information and how you can bring that information and correlate it with other data sets, I think that's one of the key things to figure out. How do I take this information that have probably been out there for years, but now how can I use it within an insider risk program effectively? So, but the prompting is very interesting.
So that prompts me to go in a different direction here for a second. But along that line, that's what I'm good at. You're used to dealing with the CIO's office because you have cyber tools and cyber solutions. But insider threat tends to be in different parts of the organization. Maybe in one organization, it's in the chief security officer's role. It's in the CIO's office. It could be in HR. Where do you feel, from your vantage point, it's best fit in most organizations?
Well, CIOs for me are the people that are acquiring technology. They don't own the requirements. They don't own the mission. They don't own the need. Their job, in my view, and CIOs can yell at me, I'm probably a couple of CIOs in the other room, but their goal is to say, okay, what are the requirements of the CISO, of the security officer, or anybody else, and then let the CIO go out and identify what technologies or what solutions they need. I mean, that's where I see it. I mean, CIOs play a part. They usually have the budget.
Yeah.
They usually have the money. But it's really, they should be gathering the requirements and then going out and doing their best to kind of filter those requirements.
Do you feel, Raj, do you agree? Or
100%. And I think part of the decision points, you've got to understand the business use case and be close to that operator. But the CIO has to make that indecision on and understanding the requirements. But one thing I would add to that as well, with AI being introduced, and we've kind of heard it out on the floor today as well, the insider risk community needs to own that risk management portion, because that's exactly what's getting budget today. That's where the CIO is prioritizing their program. And we are the community that understands that behavior the best. Kind of like we heard about the DTEX IT worker, don't let a crisis go to waste. If we don't take ownership of that problem, somebody else in the
somebody's
business
gonna own
will.
Certainly.
And guess what? It's going to be harder to budget our programs.
Well, in a lot of ways, you seem to be the good bridge between technology and the human, right? So
Exactly.
you're looking at the human being, whereas your typical cyber person, with all due respect to them, is thinking, how do I block this from getting into
Yeah.
my system? Not necessarily who's the person behind that keyboard that's trying to get into my system. Well, it happens to be the person you hired
Yep.
and you've entrusted, and now I know we could talk for hours about zero trust, and we're not going to, but
Thank goodness.
yeah, you guys are like kind of the bridge between the human factors of people
Yep.
behind the keyboard and the technology people, and trying to get those two folks talking a little bit
And
better.
I think when in the past, I mean, one of the things DLP always did, it always just cared about the incident, the act, something
Right.
happened. I think what DTEX and what Everfox are doing, they're trying to figure out, well, why did it happen? Give me the reason,
Yeah.
the intent behind it. Yeah, like the CIO shops, they're just about blocking. Cyber doesn't care why it happened.
Right.
They don't care the behavior behind it. They just want to stop whatever happened. That sucker's not going to be exfiltrating that information out of anywhere. But you ask them, do you care why you did it? Get to the root cause of the problem? No. I just know I blocked it.
Well, now you're speaking my language.
There you go.
That's
Very
what
much.
I love. I always tell Pete, this is the question that I always want to answer. Why?
Yeah.
Why did they do this? What does this behavior mean? How do I make sense of this?
Get to the root cause.
Right.
Because the root cause could be a process that you put in place or a policy
Absolutely.
that's impacting your organization, impacting employees, disgruntlement, disengagement. We talk about all those things, but there's a root cause between disgruntlement and disengagement. What is it? And it's different from every organization, and it impacts people differently. I love what Deanna said before about, hey, I don't really care that somebody has financial debt. I'm cared about somebody who understands how to financial strain. Because look,
Wait,
honestly,
were you in the room with us, or did she did she do a repeat?
She shared that during her
Oh, she
presentation.
sang that song again.
And we,
So I actually
we
listened
asked
to
her
her.
again about it. We did a podcast episode with her, and we talked about that very issue
I love
because
it.
it was, I think it really stuck out to all of us.
yeah, it tells you that, look, I mean, I can't stand debt myself, but my wife loves debt, and she would rather put us in debt for the credit cards, but I can't
Do you have
stand
something
it.
you want to tell us?
Yeah, that's another session, dude.
Okay.
We can get a long couch I can sit
What's your
on.
copay?
There's an AI agent for that.
But it does. It gets back to what does it mean, right? You see this, this concern or this indicator in a person's life, and it really matters how they understand it, what it means to them. I mean, it's the same thing when you're looking at, somebody's cyber behavior. You've got to understand the meaning behind the behavior, not just what is happening, but why is it happening?
Yeah. And one thing I'd add to that as well, and this is, I've got to coin Deanna's phrase, like perception is reality. Like that perception and our interpretation of perception is key. And I think both from an Everfox and a DTEX perspective, we do see ourselves as that glue between the cyber world and the behavioral sciences world. Like
Yeah.
in the early days when we used to come to these conferences, you could see that there were two very distinct groups that probably didn't mix. They were kind of skeptical of each other. And part of this is to if we can bring those two worlds across, because it's when you correlate those two pieces together, so the cyber indicators, the non-technical indicators together, that's when you get a high fidelity signal, which is what we're trying to
It's
get.
a powerful thing.
Well, Mike, back to our conversation about the old dog. When you are trying to enrich the DLP, why did you see what to Kristin, your point, why? That's where the experience, the life experience comes in. I mean, the new kid out of college, without any disrespect to them, doesn't understand that maybe I need to transfer this data because I have a deadline and it looks bad, but when you talk to the manager, it's like, no, it's dummy data. It's no big
That's right.
deal. It's that you're enriching, putting context to what the technology is telling you. And you're always going to need, in my opinion, a human being to be able
I agree.
to, and an old dog to do that.
Well, most security tools are really about detecting behavior, right? So from your perspective, how close are we to being able to detect intent in an insider threat situation? Is that something that we can currently do? Do we have a window into that through maybe people's prompts, through other types of things that we can look at and interpret their behavior and have a better understanding of their intent?
For us, intent is a very high bar.
Yeah.
Our marketing team might use it, and our sales team might.
I think I
might
saw
say so.
DTEX said they can get everybody's intent.
But don't trust the marketing. I don't think we're close to truly determining intent. Like if you were to kind of interview a serial killer, like even with a kind of psychology degree.
I would love to.
You would, it's still a ways to try and interpret, reasons why people did the things they did.
Yeah.
But I think you can infer intent and make some decisions around how to mitigate based on that inferred intent, which you couldn't in the past.
Right. And I think it's all about mitigation. You're never going to somebody says, I saw the terminology prevent. I don't like
I don't
using the
like
word
it
prevent.
either.
I think prevent is similar to intent, is a very high bar that we'll never be at. I think mitigating it, and that's why when we changed it from threat to risk, because it's about mitigating the risk and mitigating risk so it doesn't become a threat. So we get in front of it, understand people's behaviors, what is the root cause of those behaviors, and then being able to mitigate that, whether through its education, whether through HR involved, whether it's ethics, whether through security. What is the right path for mitigation? If we can get to that stage, I consider that a win. I consider that a big win. And, we'll never get to the full prevent, we'll never get to the full intent, but if we can start on mitigating those risks, we can save lives, we can save, data from moving out, and we become even a kind of a bigger part of national security.
Well, words matter. I mean, I think the commercial sector refers to it as risk, insider risk. Government will probably always refer to it as insider threat.
They do.
I do think it was the marketing folks that maybe said, let's kind of water this down a little bit, make it more sellable, and call it risk. It's all the same thing.
is.
Let's be honest with you.
But I think it does, the idea of risk does signal that you're getting there a little bit earlier, right?
I think so.
The risk doesn't always become a threat
Right.
Right.
if you can act.
And not everyone has malintent. Some people
Right.
could be, negligent victims of a phishing spear or whatever, all that
Certainly.
kind of activity that they didn't have the intent to harm the United States potentially, but their actions still
Well,
hurt.
if you look what the programs are doing, I mean, before it was only about data exfiltration, right? Malicious or inadvertent.
Right.
But now the programs have evolved to, protecting the culture, protecting the workforce, the humans themselves, looking at intent to harm self or others. I think that's where we've evolved. 20 years ago was just about one single thing. Stopping data from going outside an organization.
Hard
from the
enough to
inside.
do.
That was it.
Yep.
Now these programs have evolved to plenty more. Now we're collecting more information to fill in those gaps, helping HR, helping ethics, helping organizations, business cultures, looking at potentially even executive protection. I think it's an area where it's going to come up. Insider threat's going to be a play. We had somebody out there from the conference talking about executive protection. I think that's where insider threat's going to evolve to either in the future too. So we're not just stagnant. We are the programs are evolving, the mission is evolving, and it's actually getting broad as we speak.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up. We talked a little bit earlier about some of the things that we're afraid of. What are you most excited about? Where do you think that this field is going next?
Where's the future?
What should we be excited about?
I'm hugely excited about the automation
Yeah.
opportunity here. We talked about like actionable findings, and from a technology perspective, we were always surfacing things that might be interesting but weren't always actionable. I think AI has unlocked the capability for us to kind of level up on what are PRIs, but actually bring those together and truly understand behavior in a way that you can take action straight from the technology, not having to necessarily spend hours and hours of watching videos and going back and forwards through event logs and alerts and things like that. That promise, maybe our marketing team has always said it was possible, but finally delivering that promise as a technology vendor, we're there now. So we have that capability. It is fundamentally going to change the way that we operate our programs, and we're just starting to adapt to that now as well. But it is a massive time for change, and you can see if our data science team does not sleep, and it's not because we're cracking a whip, it's because this is amazing. From a technology capability, everything is moving so fast now.
And I think what we've seen, what I'm excited about is that we're going to drop the word insider. It's going to be a risk management problem. So that's what gets me excited. I think we have to build this as a risk management problem. We have cyber risk, we have insider risk, we have fraud, waste, abuse risk, we have product. We should be platforming as a risk management solution where insider plays a significant part. But there's other threats out there that with the right amount of technology that we got in place, we should be evolving beyond just a simple insider threat, insider risk. It should be risk management. And all those attributes that we talked about, being able to get the context of information, bringing in other data sources, all that stuff, it's going to happen. Using AI, it's going to happen. But I think we can be a broader solution and bring this to the community that nobody else is. Cyber won't touch it, SOC won't, but I think we can be kind of that risk management, accelerator out there.
So we got a couple minutes left, and we've taken a lot of your time and can't thank you enough. This is an old FBI trick, skill that I learned in interviewing. Is there any question that you wished we would have asked you?
Oh, that's a good one, Pete.
Thank you.
I like that.
What's the question I didn't ask or we didn't ask that you really wish we did?
What do you really wish we hadn't asked?
I don't think I have one. What I would say, Risk, is how did you get DTEX and Everfox in the same room?
James Chappelle. James
What's up, man?
Chappelle.
We know the answer.
The maestro.
He's
The
our
maestro.
boss. He's sitting right here. He's got a lot of good ideas.
He does have a lot of good ideas.
This was a good one.
Yeah, this was fun.
I have to say,
Look,
I agree.
We didn't even cause any blood on the show. We got along.
I think you hugged, for God's
We
sake.
did hug at
You're
once,
going to
yeah.
be like drinking beer soon. Like, I'm really.
And in all reality, like we share the same mission.
Yes, we do.
And
We're competimates.
Yeah.
We're competimates. We also have like other competitors out there, which we're probably less friendly.
Yeah, we're gonna squash them.
but
Together.
Yeah, together we're gonna squash them. So it'll be only DTEX and Everfox left at the end of the day in a grudge match.
Mike is not just an interview guest. He's actually an interviewer at the same time.
He knows what he's doing.
This guy here. All right, so we always wrap our podcast with this area. A lot of what we deal with is heavy stuff. I mean, maybe more so on our end than your all's. But like, how do you decompress? Raj, how do you handle your stress? What do you do? Do you sing? Do you play guitar? What do you do to decompress?
I'm a mountain biker. So over the weekend, be heading to the Santa Cruz Mountains.
Wonderful.
To hit the mountain bike trail.
As I was going to go buy a piece of equipment, I saw multiple people out riding a mountain bike, and it helped me de-stress a little bit.
There you go.
It's a beautiful place for it.
Mike, I know you're a big Cavs fan and a big LeBron James fan. I know you have a little.
I have little LeBron. At home. He's my 3-foot bobblehead. I got a 3-foot little LeBron.
Yeah,
and
I've seen it,
And I
actually.
also bought a Barbie LeBron the other day for Christmas. So
Okay.
I've got Junior LeBron and
Okay.
Big LeBron. But
And you're worried about your wife spending?
yeah, she yells at me all the
Okay.
time. Golfing's my first passion or next passion is golfing. I am bound to crack a 90. That's my next goal. Get a low. So I'm trying to get better at golf. That little white ball that doesn't move and you try to hit it, it doesn't seem to go wherever you want to go to.
Well,
So I want to try to get better at.
We're going to brag for a second because Kristen and I had lunch yesterday at Pebble Beach.
We
You
did.
did.
We walked the 18th.
Nice.
And we went to, there's these places where they say no non-golfers are allowed beyond this point.
We may have gone.
We kept walking because I wanted to walk to the 18th tee box and look back. And I have
That's-
the pictures to
But-
prove it that I broke the Pebble Beach rule.
We didn't speak during anybody's backswing.
No. And we clapped. We clapped. There were a couple good shots.
Appropriately.
No one put it. No one
Yeah.
put it in the bay.
Yeah, we didn't play, but we did enjoy being out there.
And we talked about you guys.
It's
We
a
talked-
fun sport. It's a good way to spend 4 hours on a weekend. And my wife likes it because she knows I'm out of the house and she can go do whatever she wants.
It's
So,
her window. It's
she can
her
go
window.
shopping.
yeah, she's there right now.
Well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time out of the busy schedule from today. Really appreciate your time. This was awesome.
Raj, Mike, thank you so
you.
much. Thank you so much for your time and for being here with us. It's
I'm less
wonderful.
scared about AI. You guys have calmed me. I'll send you my copay
Good.
because I'm a lot less calm about the future and the robot resume
Robots,
coming
yeah,
up and killing me or something like that. Don't worry about it.
That's next year's.
Next year,
conference.
suppose. Yeah,
we're
next year.
good.
Who knows what will have happened by then,
my
the next
God,
year.
yeah. I know.
We'll be ready. We'll see you guys back
Take
here.
care.
All right, guys, take it easy. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you very much, guys.
So, wow, I mean, I feel like they went out and hugged and like took their.
I think we just helped a really great friendship.
I think we did,
start
too.
off in a new direction here.
And I think Michael actually has a future I knew
podcasting?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on a lot of calls with him over the years on some work groups, and he's just a dynamic thought leader, but a very great speaker and smart. Like both of those guys were really smart.
Fantastic.
I didn't feel very smart in the conversation, but at the same time, that's not the goal. Like they have the expertise in cyber in AI and how it relates to insider threat, insider risk. That's what we're
That's
trying.
why we bring these amazing people in.
Yeah.
If we knew everything, we could just sit here and just talk, the two of us.
That
but
wouldn't be very
It
entertaining.
wouldn't. It would. I think people would get bored of that pretty quickly.
think so, too.
And instead, we've got these incredible guests. I thought that was pretty fun to have both of them involved together.
We learned about prompts,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to learn more about that as we depart
I'm
from
still a
this.
little scared of AI.
I think it's okay to be scared. I think it's okay to be scared. And, just for the record, my resume is not out there. Like, I just wanted it to work. I wanted to see if it could do better. And AI did a great job. I mean, I think there are valuable things that AI can do to make us all better.
I used AI to help prep for this podcast episode.
How'd that work out for you?
I think our viewers will, or listeners will have to determine
The
that.
audience they'll tell us. James, what did you think? That this you had this idea for this episode. What did you think about the thought process here from our two guests?
I thought it was really good. They both brought obviously significant levels of expertise, and I thought that they actually played off of each other really well, and they were very deferential. Being in the same marketplace, that can sometimes be a challenge. And
Right.
I know that when we were getting ready for this, there was the discussion of how do we think that, but they're both professionals.
Yeah.
And they're both extremely smart, like you said, experts in their field. And I think they enjoyed having the conversation because it is something that they're very passionate about.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's one of the things that I think we see as especially here as we're at the symposium, again, DSI very, very gracious to get us a room here to utilize. The people here who work in this mission set are extremely passionate about
Yeah.
what they do, and they love to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so when you get that passion and the people who love to talk about it, even if they're in some ways in competitor type slots, it really, you can bring out the best in each other, which is incredible. So I thought it was great. Really loved it. Can't wait to hear the finished product.
Yeah, and I think that it's a great time to thank DSI again, the Defense Strategies Institute, and make sure that everyone knows that September 15th and 16th in Washington, D.C. is the National Insider Risk Symposium. Again, risk, not threat. It'll be in Washington, D.C., so reservations, I believe, are open. So go ahead and take a look at that. Maybe they'll have us back.
Maybe we'll be there doing some
Could
podcast
be.
episodes.
It won't take 3 flights for you, James. It's just a little drive, But
Guess who has to fly that direction?
Always take the direct if you can.
always take the direct.
Learned the hard way.
All right, until next time, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and stay safe out there.
Thanks so much for being here with us today, everyone.
The views and opinions presented herein are those of the interviewer and/or interviewee and do not necessarily represent the views of the Department of War or its components, including Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency, or DCSA. Further, any reference to the use of specific resources or consultation with non-government personnel does not constitute endorsement by the Department of War, its components, or DCSA.